Oh yeah, it's all
Waffle
ready.
maker. I've got a waffle maker.
What? 10 seconds.
Oh, and a
9, 8.
panini toaster.
Stop it. 6, 5, 4. I clicked it too late. Oh, it was nearly perfect. Hello, Naomi.
Hello, Tim.
Hello, welcome to the wonderful live stream. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Tim?
Excellent. I'm fairly good. I'm clicking buttons because something's gone wrong already. I hope it works. My studio mode doesn't seem to work. So if it goes wrong in a second, then we'll know what the problem is because it's my incompetence. Yes, exactly. Oh, it's because we left Star Player on the bench again.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll sub him in today?
I think we might have to.
I think so, yes. But anyway, do we need to do introductions anymore?
Well, this is what you're supposed to do, isn't it? Get to a point where you don't have to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, so we won't do that.
No.
And
But we can drop our names into conversation, can't we, Tim?
We could, or we could just say, look, it's in the screen below. Where am I?
Oh, is it on the screen? See, I can't see the screen.
Yes, it is. It's below our pretty faces, so it's all good.
There we go.
So, what are we going to talk about, Naomi? I'm going to go to the transition and see if it works. This is the moment of truth. Oh, yes. I love your library. Topic of the week. And what is the topic of the week, Naomi?
Our topic of this week is academic writing.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about academic writing because, you people like academic writing. But today is a special day, and we just wanted to highlight that. What's so special about today's live stream?
StudyFest. We never did do a jingle. I was thinking StudyFest, StudyFest, StudyFest.
Maybe something less annoying, but yeah, we should have a jingle. That's right.
Jingle.
Yeah. StudyFest.
Oh no, that's just frightening.
Okay, well, we won't have that one then. But we're going to talk about academic writing. I'm going to have to pull my Word document up to see what we are talking about. And I'm going to kick off with a question.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, what is the biggest document you have ever had to write for any of your studies?
When I was an undergrad, I did dual honours, but one of them was law, and I'm sure the third year essays were 5,000 words for an essay.
5,000.
I didn't do a dissertation for my undergrad. I did a dissertation for my master's, but I can't remember how many words it was. But I don't think it was, I think it might have been 10,000. Certainly, I remember when I was writing my law essays, and then some of my friends on different courses were complaining about doing their dissertations, which were 3,000 words or something, and I was just like, hang on a second, I've just got an essay here that's 5,000.
It's different for everybody, isn't it? The size of these things. Yeah, 5,000 is still pretty hefty, especially for first year's work, I would think.
And it was third year essays were 5,000.
Oh, sorry, yeah. No,
I
meant to say for graduates rather than. I always get the terminology mixed up. Yeah. So how did you find that experience? What did you not like about having to write that?
I'm not a big fan of essay writing generally. I have spoken before about my love for exams. I'm much more suited to exams in terms of assessment, much more suited. I can still remember my 10 words from last week, just putting that out there.
Go on.
Oh, reception, professor, maths, player, security, attitude, actor, scene, clothes, bonus.
I am actually shocked because I can only recall them because you recalled them. But I think those are exactly the 10 that we had last week. So for our lovely viewers today, if you want to know what we're talking about, go and watch last week's live stream. It was really good fun. Yes.
So yes, remembering things, recall, exams, I like that. Essays and dissertations I've always struggled with more, which is why I didn't do a dissertation for my undergraduate. So I studied at a university where most people do dual honours courses. And for that very reason, none of the dissertations when I was there were compulsory, because if any subject had a compulsory dissertation, you'd end up having to do 2, or there was a risk of having to write 2 dissertations. So the idea was that you picked which subject of your dual honours you wanted to write your dissertation for, and then didn't do a dissertation for your other subject. But it did mean that you could just not pick a dissertation for either of your subjects and just do the standard modules for the other subject. So that's what I did for my undergrad, because I didn't want to do it at all. And I did write a dissertation for my master's degree, and I got quite a poor mark.
Oh no,
I
really?
didn't do well. It just doesn't suit me. It doesn't suit me at all. I find it difficult to organize my thoughts over
Right.
something that large.
Hmm. So I'm sort of the opposite, I think, because I quite like writing essays. But the fun thing for me really is that in the Dutch education system, essay writing is not really part of the assessment. So
Is
when
it
I
not?
no, so in my undergrad, the only things I had to write were reports and things like that, but not an essay. So the idea
Mm,
behind an essay is that you deliver your own argument and use evidence to deliver the argument. We didn't really have to do that. So I learned how to write reports, and I learned how to write like other stuff. I can't even think of any examples of it. Mainly report writing. And I had to do my first proper essay when I started my master's in Sheffield. And it was called a test essay. So in our department, the information school, they basically made us write a test essay because there were so many international students who'd never done essays before.
mm,
And I loved the experience. And I really realized that, it's something that I like doing. I'm good at doing it. But my feedback wasn't great because I completely missed the point.
mm.
I just didn't know what I was supposed to do. So I did something, and then even though I thought it was really good, the professor who checked it, Steve, I think it was Steve, just turned around and said, "Look, Tim, we're going to have to work on this." So I made a conscious effort in my first semester at the masters. It was a 1 year masters to actually learn how to write essays, and I read quite a lot on. There's all these guides and things that we've got available that help you to understand what an essay is and how to write one. That actually makes me think we should highlight our biblio collection. What do you think? Shall we spin to that real
I think
quick?
we should.
I think we will as well. So I'm going to do that. And I'll just keep on talking about other stuff as well. Whilst we are looking at the technical transition screen, which is very exciting. Yeah, so our biblio collection will be able to help you with. I always forget how to get there. There we go, I think. Will be able to help you write for essays and things like that. Oh, actually, I don't need the biblio collection. So I've gone to the academic writing skills guide. You can't see the URL, but it's pretty straightforward. It's libguides.derby.ac.uk/academic writing. And when you're on that, you will see some resources that we've got available. And you can see the assessments guidance from the Vice President for Education. You can see the Biblio Study Skills ebook collection, which we have available with loads of, well, not loads, but 12 really good hand-picked titles that are yours to keep whilst you're at the University of Derby. They're basically ebooks that you can make notes in yourself. And then we've got a book by Jamie Q. Roberts, The Essentials of Essay Writing, Writing for University, and the Study Skills Handbook by Stella Cottrell. We also have some other material there that is useful. So I would say have a look at our skills guides because, you know, they're full of useful information that might help you a lot if you struggle with essay writing. Whew, talked a lot there, didn't I?
You did. You were going to talk about so your dissertation writing experience. You talked about your first essay. Did you then build on that then to approach your, because presumably you must have done a dissertation for your master's and then
I did.
indeed your PhD thesis.
Yes, I did. So writing essays became part of doing the masters. I had to do essays as part of that, and I got into it. I really felt like fish in water because I like making an argument and developing that argument and doing the work that's involved with researching it and using a coherent sort of statement on something. So I really enjoyed it, and we talked a bit about. We won't refer to the pub incident again, but I wrote my final dissertation for my master's. Finished it before it was supposed to be submitted, which was great. Submitted it stress free, and I did pretty well on that. I qualified with a distinction for my master's, and part of that was the quality of my dissertation. And that dissertation, I believe, was 20,000 words. Um, and it was a sort of combination of an essay and a report. So I actually went to do work for the I want to remember what they're called now. The Solicitors Regulation Authority, I think it was called, or the legal ombudsman at the time. I think they changed name in the intermittent period, but they were based at Leamington Spa. I went there, did some research on knowledge management, knowledge exchange, and wrote up the dissertation based on my experiences, full of recommendations for them. I just love it. I really liked it, and I think that's probably why I ended up doing a PhD, because I thought, hey, this writing stuff is actually, it suits me, so I can do that. So I want to do
I
a
see
PhD.
again. I was completely the opposite. So the master's I did was an MRes, a master's of research that's designed to lead into a PhD. And I didn't go on to do a PhD.
You did not like
What
it.
I learned from the year was that was not what I wanted to do. But
Not
really useful to learn that over the course of a 1-year master's rather than embarking on a PhD and learning
absolutely,
it during a
absolutely.
PhD.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's the main thing I learned from my master's year, was that I
yeah.
was not suited to writing a PhD.
I would argue that I wasn't suited to it either, but that was basically down to other things, I think. But writing a PhD is, because you end up with a product at the end that's like, I think mine was about 80,000 words, something like that. And it's all you, right? You've written the whole damn thing from beginning to end. Everything in it is you. It's your argument. It's your statement. It's your research. But it doesn't end with 80,000 words, because that 80,000 words was a distillation of many hundreds of thousands of words that were written over the period of, in my case, 4 years. And managing that much text was actually really difficult, and I had to learn a lot about that. I think I made several mistakes in the process, but yeah, it's actually really key that when you write a big piece of work, especially dissertation, that you make sure that you manage that information that you've got. So last week, was it last week or the week before, we talked about the didactic diamond, the Derby diamond?
That was last week.
That was last week, yeah. So
We
this
did
method
talk
that
about the
I've
Derby
developed,
Diamond last week.
yeah. I think I referred to it then. There's a lot more you can attach to that diamond model, and one of the things that you can attach to it is actually data management, research data management, because keeping track of all that work that you are doing, the bigger the project you are doing, the more complicated it becomes, and that's actually something really important, and I would say a very wise lesson. If you are thinking of doing a master's dissertation or even bigger, a PhD, make sure you think about where you store your information, how you store it, how do you find it back, the retrieval of all of that, because that's actually really important. But we won't go into too much detail on that today. Mm. So, we've talked about our own experiences. Would you like to talk a bit about the season that we're in and why we have StudyFest at the moment?
So we have got StudyFest at the moment because it's assignment season. People are writing assignments.
Mm.
That's what we understand the students are doing. If you're not, let us know. But no, I think assignments, well, they're a big thing at all point during your study, aren't you? You're always, certainly I was always thinking about the assessment method. But at this point of the term, of the semester in particular, people have really started to think about their assignments, actually getting on with writing them, thinking about those deadlines and when they are falling.
What's
So yeah, so
the
we've got StudyFest on this week, which has been a wide range of different events on all kinds of different subjects.
Yeah. I think it's been great already so far. I've been
Mm.
looking at some of the sessions that were delivered on Monday and yesterday, and frankly, I'm really pleased. I'm very happy with the quality of what we are putting out this week. So I'm really happy, having organised a bit of it. Naomi, in reality, organised most of it. I just came up with the idea and said, "Can you organise this?" And then Naomi did. So thumbs up, Naomi. Um, but what is difficult about assignment season? So I recall when I did my masters again. I found the main thing that was really difficult was juggling all these pieces of work. Have you got any experience of that?
I don't know. I'm pretty organised. I'm
Mm,
pretty organised. So was definitely the kind of person that was thinking about deadlines right from when we first got the module handbook in our hands. Do you get paper module handbooks now? Certainly when I was a student, you got your module handbook in your hands.
No, it's all on course resources now,
So
Naomi.
I'd be planning right from that beginning stage and balancing all those together. But I think stress comes in, doesn't it? That's would be my experience of when it's all just feeling that pressure, definitely.
Yeah. So have you got any tips on how to deal with that pressure? Shall I give a few that I think
You
work
go
quite
for
well?
it.
So Naomi already mentioned it. Being organized, planning your whole semester before you even start it is a great way of releasing some of that pressure. If you know that you've got to write essays, and let's say you know that you need to write 3 essays, all 3 of them are 3,000 words, try and split them up so you don't get all the deadlines near each other. To be fair, in most programs, the lecturers talk to each other and decide that they stagger the deadlines. But even then, 2 weeks between one deadline and another doesn't give you 2 weeks to write an essay. Well, it does give you the 2 weeks to write the essay, but that's not enough time to write it and to do the research for it properly. So planning your whole semester out with all those dates that you've got is really important. And then the other thing that I did quite consciously, and I suppose the program with the masters was designed like that. Every day would be dedicated to a specific module. So I remember quite distinctly we had a module that I really didn't like on, trying to remember what it was called, something with information. And that was on Mondays. We had a lecture at 9 in the morning. Great time. At 9 in the morning, we would have to rock up, have a lecture for 2 hours, and then I would go into the lab for 2 hours after each lecture to just do the work that I felt I needed to do to be familiar with the content that we just talked about, and to put the stuff into, whether it was, I would say, some sort of structure so I could find it again and use it later on for an essay as well. And that really helped. So I would have each day dedicated to one of my modules and keep my brain sort of clear so I didn't feel the pressure of all the modules at the same time. I didn't have like one day where I had to do all the work for each of those modules in the week. Yeah. Anything else we want to say about assignment week?
We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? Making use of all of the help and support and resources that are available to you. So
yes.
you've had on screen already our skills guides. We've got loads of information on the library guides page, both in skills guides, subject guides, all sorts going on there. We've got all our StudyFest sessions. You can sign up for ones that are still coming. You can watch sessions that have happened already. If your lecturer's putting on any sessions to do with your assignment, go along to them, get access to all that information and support. We say this a lot, don't we? But nobody wants you to fail. Everybody wants you to pass. Everybody wants you to pass and do well. Everybody at the university wants every single student at the university to do well. That is a fact.
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots of people there providing as much support as they can to help that happen. So do take advantage, find out what support's out there and take advantage of the support available to you.
Yeah, you had a session yesterday that you sat in on, and I keep going on about it because we talked about it in the opening session for the StudyFest as well. But the well-being and chaplaincy support that's available is so valuable as well. So I viewed it back this morning, and one of the things that was mentioned, I think not enough people know about, is that the well-being service actually offer online sessions to help you deal with stress around exams as well. So if you get really anxious going into exams or with deadlines or things like that, go and have a chat with the wellbeing team. They are so nice. They couldn't do enough for you, and they're more than happy to explain all sorts of strategies and coping mechanisms and ways to actually get through that period. Don't get overburdened by stress. Reach out because there's always some help available somewhere. Whether you talk to your academics, whether you talk to the wellbeing service, whether you talk to your librarian, whoever it may be, there's support out there. So do reach out. The only reason that it's out there is because we know you need it. It's simple as that. So don't feel like you're burdening anybody if you do reach out. We've put that support in place on purpose, and we want you to use. Yes. So, the other thing that we've got on our list that we cobbled together this morning is writer's block. And you don't like essays. So, again, I'm going to put you on the spot, Naomi. I feel I've been doing that already a lot this morning. But have you ever had writer's block?
I have had times when I do not want to do my writing. I've not had so many times when I don't. So for me, writer's block would be if I want to write, but I can't make the words come out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I've experienced that. I can find words to to say or to write. My bigger problem is when I stop wanting to write.
So the motivation side of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I found it really interesting. I think I learned this during my PhD actually, that a lot of the time when I felt I had writer's block, what I was actually suffering from was a lack of information. So I would sit down, and we've talked about this endlessly. We will keep talking about this endlessly. We open a Word document, you start typing, you've already started the wrong way around. You need to read first, and you need to understand what you're actually writing about first. So writer's block to me, and I'll give you a few examples of where I've experienced it. One, definitely what Naomi just said. If I don't feel motivated to write, it becomes really difficult for me to write anything. Two is that when I had to write, like I said, for my PhD, because I had to put it in a certain language, which we will talk about a bit as well, I found it really difficult to not use my own voice. And own voice is such an interesting topic. And this afternoon,
I was going to say there's a session this afternoon on
yes,
academic voice.
and I'm definitely going to be jumping in on that because I want to hear what's being said about it. But yeah, developing your academic voice is really important, but also really complicated, and something that takes ages, right? So we don't expect you to develop your full academic voice in 3 years of an undergrad study. It takes longer than that. Yeah, that would stop me writing because I felt like I wasn't using my own language until I realized what my own language was. It was really difficult for me to write up quickly and effectively. And then the final thing, I write for, I don't know if you do, Naomi, I've never actually asked you about this, but I write for fun as well. I write short stories, novels, poetry, stuff like that. Do you?
I have written my fair share of poetry in the past, not actively
Ah,
at the moment, but poetry would be my go-to form of self-expression.
good. So my poetry is a bit akin to the Gorgon poetry. Do you know the Gorgon poetry?
I do. I am aware of the Gorgon
Yes,
poetry.
so it's not to be shared beyond anywhere else because it might destroy planets. And if you don't get that reference, then you definitely need to look up Douglas Adams' wonderful Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The answer is 42.
And it's
Unfortunately.
Vogon, but
Oh, it is
carry on.
Fogon. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Details. See, I don't do details. But yeah, so a brilliant book, brilliant. Well, I don't like the films and stuff. Read the book. The book's good.
No, and the radio show. They were
Yes.
both written by Douglas Abbott Adams. The book
Yes.
and the radio show were both
I
written
think
by
it's
Douglas
still on
Adams.
the
That's the stuff you
BBC
need to stick
iPlayer.
to. I'm not sure. I bought them from Audible. Just
No.
dropping in brand names there as we go. I've got them as
Sponsor this
ebooks,
show.
ebooks on Audible.
Yeah. We should actually
Yeah.
point out this week we're sponsored by StudyFest. But the thing I was going to say is with my personal writing, I don't have writer's block because it's my brain that's producing. I'm putting on paper what I want to put on paper. My problem is that when I read it back, I go, "Oh, that's really rubbish," and I've not realized that I was writing rubbish when I was writing it. But yeah, so different ways to look at writer's block. For me, the main thing is if you do experience that inability to write, the feeling that you can't get any further, go back to the material that you're trying to write about. Read, read, read. The best thing to do to improve your academic writing, Naomi, is
Read.
reading. You can't do
Read
enough
academic
reading.
things. But
Yes,
even so, yes, I take your point about the information and the knowledge that you're gathering during that. But whilst you're doing that, you will be learning about that academic writing style and how to put together. A journal article is essentially an essay, and
yes,
so
it
by
is.
reading journal articles, you are learning about that
Yeah,
academic writing style.
yeah, absolutely. I just noticed that the light in my background is flickering a bit. It's because I'm on a active stool. Do you notice that? Oh, you can't see it, Naomi. The audience at home will be going, wow, what is that weirdo doing? It's literally my phone picking up light or not picking up light. Apologies for that. So, what are we going to do next? I'm going to do the animation
Have
again
we
because
got
I
a
like it.
fancy thing happening?
I've got an animation. Look at this. Oh, the grammar topic of the week. Yes. And what is the grammar topic of the week, Naomi? I'm going to start up your wonderful. We did have a good giggle there. Your wonderful presentation.
Our grammar topic of the week is active and passive sentences.
And we are keeping the football analogy live.
Yes, I wanted to feel included with the football analogy. So is my slide on the screen, I'm guessing?
Your first slide is on the screen. Just let me know when you want the next one.
I will do. So this is me. That is exactly what I look like. Actually, that is me back in the day when we could go to the hairdressers. My hair is a good 3-4 inches longer than that right now. Thank you, lockdown. Thank you, pandemic. Anyway, so that's me. And I have kicked a ball. So this is my sentence. Naomi kicked the ball. I'm going to be talking a little bit about grammar terms just because they do actually help. I was umming and ahhing about, do we want to do this using the grammatical terms or do we want to do it using normal language? And I think you need to have a balance because some of the grammatical terms do actually help us understand this difference between active and passive sentences. I'm just going to talk also about why it's worth learning about active and passive sentences. And this will hopefully become clear as we go through. But basically, in academic writing, mostly you want to be aiming for active sentences. Essentially, they're clearer, they're more concise, they're to the point, and they're easier to read and understand, basically. So this is an active sentence. Naomi kicked the ball. Sentences generally have a subject, the person who's doing something. That's me in this example. There's a verb, which is what I'm doing, and there's the object, which is what I'm doing it to. Tim, can we have the next slide? So on this slide, you can see subject, verb, object. I am the subject of the sentence. I am kicking, which is the verb, the ball, which is the object of the sentence. And that's your order, subject, verb, object. That is a nice active
I'm going to stop guessing which slide you want, and you're going to tell me.
I want number 2.
Slide 3. Yes, apologies. We're
you
on
did this
slide
last
2 now.
time.
I know. I need to stop it. We're on slide 2 now. Apologies.
So, Naomi is the subject. I'm the subject of the sentence. The verb is what I'm doing. I kicked the ball, which is the object of the sentence. If we go to the next slide, Timocha still
Yes, boss. Next slide is up.
This is a passive sentence. The ball was kicked by Naomi. It's saying the same thing. The message is the same. The picture, the beautiful picture. I just want to say, Tim told me I had to put together some slides that were as beautiful as his Derby Diamond slides from last week. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick my own face on it. And then no one's going to say it's not beautiful. So the image is exactly the same. What's happening is exactly the same. But the sentence is different. The ball was kicked by Naomi. And Tim, if we can go to slide 4, please.
Done.
This, the order of the words has changed. So instead of starting with the subject of the sentence, we're now starting with the object. Then we've got the verb and the subject. And we've got more words in there as well. There are more words in that sentence. So Tim, if we can go to slide 5. I've just got these 2 sentences next to each other. So you can see there exactly the same meaning, exactly the same thing happening, 2 different sentences. We've got 2 extra words in the second sentence. It's longer, it's less concise, it is, in my opinion, less clear. Naomi kicked the ball. Bam. Sorted. The ball was kicked by Naomi. I don't know if you can hear that. It's just a bit more fluffy. See, that's a non-grammatical term. The grammatical term is a passive sentence. It's a bit more fluffy. And when you're writing academically, often you want to take out that fluff, basically. This is a really important point for proofreading and for getting your word count down. So we do get asked sometimes, how do I reduce my word count? And this can be something to look out for. Have you got unnecessary words? And passive sentences bring in those unnecessary words. So the was and the by in that second sentence are not necessary to the meaning of the sentence. You don't need them. If you make it into an active sentence, then it's too fewer words, basically. You might be thinking this is all very good, but how does this apply in an academic context? So on slide 6, I have pulled out, this is an academic point. It is not anything to do with the subject that I've studied, but I trust it because I got it from a reputable journal. The salient structural features of savanna vegetation are accurately captured by the classical definition of savannas. That even just looking at that right now, I'm not totally sure what that point is, what that point's meaning. The subject of the sentence, the thing, but so we can apply those same grammatical rules to it. So the thing that's doing something here is the classical definition of savannas. What it's doing is accurately capturing, and what it's doing it to is the salient structural features of savanna vegetation. So we can pick out those same grammatical features. And we've got here this grammatical structure of a passive sentence. The first thing we've got is the object, what is having something done to it. Then we've got the verb, accurately captured, and then we've got the subject, what is doing that. On the next and final, everybody will be glad to know, slide, we've got that sentence as it was written in the journal. So this is the journal. I've put my reference there and everything. So the classical definition of savannas accurately captures the salient structural features of savanna vegetation. So now we've got our subject, verb, object in a nice order for our active sentence, and that is it's fewer words, it's more to the point, and it's easy to understand as you read it. And that's basically active and passive sentences. It's not something, as with all the grammar stuff, it's not something to fixate on and go through every single sentence and analyze, am I doing this right? It's not that kind of thing at all. But if you've got a paragraph and you're not sure it makes sense, or you're not sure that your point is coming across clearly enough, or if you're looking at it and just thinking that's got too many words, or if you do need to bring your word count down, this can be the kind of thing to start looking at. Am I using active sentences, or have I got those passive sentences, those extra words, that fluffiness coming through? Tim, any comments on my grammar topic of the week this week? We had a terrible argument last week about capital letters.
We did, yes. We're not going to have a terrible argument. I just want, please keep academic writing readable. I mean, that example, your 6th slide, the class. What was it again? I'm going to have to read it again.
Quite. So that wasn't a real. So the one on the 6th slide was not a real academic example. That was my example of a passive sentence.
Well,
it makes more sense in the active sentence.
It does make.
That's which was the point.
Yes, it is a good point. It is a good point, and I'm not going to argue out. But Naomi, I'm calling in our super sub.
Oh, am I? Is this me? Am I done now?
Yes, we're going to.
I'm done.
Yes, we're going to say goodbye to you. This is a first, by the way, for the stream.
Thank you for having me.
This is first for the
it all might fall over at this point. If we suddenly stop streaming, it's because this hasn't worked.
Exactly.
Everybody needs to cross their fingers and say I don't know, skills stream 3 times.
Yes, absolutely. Right, Naomi, I'm going to kick you out. No, I'm not going to kick you out. I don't know how to do it.
Do you want me to leave? I can press the leave button.
If you don't.
All right, I'll do that now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. And then we are switching over. Oh, this is so professional, people. You've got to be admiring the wonderful professionalism here. Whilst I quickly do some more technical stuff. Alex, I don't see you on video. Oh no, is it all going wrong? Wood. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, I see you on video. I've changed that. Look at this. Oh, it's worked. I can't hear you though.
Cool. Very good. Can you hear me now, Tim?
I can hear you. You're a bit low volume. Okay. You need to move the microphone a bit closer.
I'm just switching to this cam. Can you hear me now, Tim?
I can. And I can see you, so that's very exciting. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hello, Tim. I'm very good, thank you. Good. I'm very happy to be taken off the bench.
Yes,
What do we
I'm
need to
so
talk about, Tim? What do we need to talk about?
I'm just so pleased that you're here. You know, I was getting enough of Naomi, to be honest. She's always going on about grammar, isn't she?
What's
Oh,
that grammar all about? Well,
yeah,
she did say one good thing, Tim, and that's all about proofreading and editing the passive sentences after you've written them. And that's
yes.
actually one of my top tips for academic
Oh,
writing.
straight into the topic. Well done, Alex. I knew you would.
Yes. So yeah, my top tip for academic writing links exactly to what Naomi just said, actually, which is don't worry about your writing being perfect, because I would recommend just getting it, writing it, because I always struggle with writer's block a bit like Tim does, because I just don't want to write. I've got all my plan. I'm just like, where do I start? Just start, and then once you've written it, then make it perfect. And proofread and change things. If there's any waffle or any passive sentences, just get rid of them. Simple as.
Yeah, getting rid of waffle is something that I really had to learn. When you have a word count, it's very tempting to introduce words and sentences and things that you don't need. It's the worst thing ever. I don't know, once you see it and you realize that you're writing waffle, it winds
It
me
needs to
up
go.
now. Yeah, it needs
It's
to go.
gotta go.
Yeah, if it's superfluous, just get rid of it.
I always write massively over the word count. That way, I then have to get rid of stuff to make it down and make it efficient. Otherwise, I'd just be like, it's 3,000 words. I've written 3,000. That's good.
Yeah.
So now I try and write 4,500 and then go, oh my word, how do I make this fit in? And
Yeah.
try to reduce the content before then reduce the word count before removing any content. Although sometimes you do have to remove content.
Absolutely.
But try and remove the words first.
It's always easier to reduce the word count than it is to increase the word count. So, yeah, that's a really good tip, I think. The other thing is, like I said, start writing, get your drafts out. Again, we'll refer to the diamond, which you can see on the academic writing guide as well. There's a really quick video on there. But basically, the diamond says have 3 drafts planned in. First draft, second draft, third draft. That first draft can be as rubbish as anything, as long as the content in it is actually useful, and then you can fix it in draft 2, draft 3. Yeah, absolutely, really important not to get overexcited about the quality of your writing for that first bit.
The way I get over my first draft, actually writing it, is I just write my first draft as a plan. I just go, okay, here's what points I'm trying to make, here's what evidence I'm going to use, and then just sort of write, oh, here's how I want to use it. And then when I go to actually write it, I just turn that point into an essay. And writing then takes no time at all. And it actually takes way less time than I always think it will. I'm always like, oh, it's going to take me like a whole week. And then because I've written so much in a plan, because of my personal writing style, it's done so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then proofreading takes ages because I've written way too much. But the actual initial writing stage isn't that bad. So yeah.
Writing style is an interesting one as well, isn't it? I think, like Naomi highlighted with the active and passive voice, you're probably best off using active voice. But if you have a different writing style, don't really worry about it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to just convey the message that it needs to convey. Is way more important than making it sound posh. We've had the discussion, Alex, in the past about the word furthermore, or what are the other ones? Do you remember the connecting words that we talked about in the past?
Oh yes, Tim. We're going to have that discussion later.
Good. I won't lead on to that.
Oh, yes. Academic writing.
Yes, you've added that secretly to our program, haven't you?
I did, yes.
Yes.
I have been very busy this morning, Tim. So I will admit, whilst I was writing the chat earlier, I was writing in the plan.
You were, yeah. But actually, what did you do this morning? Just tell
the peer assisted learning conference.
Very exciting. Can peer assisted learning, the PAL scheme?
Sorry, the program map conference. My bad, sorry.
Oh, it's actually me.
Well, there were peer assisted learners in there, Tim.
Good. So I'm going to talk about the peer assisted learning scheme. How would that be able to help you with your academic writing?
How would they be? So essentially, peer assisted learning students are students who are in the second and third years, and they generally help first years who are new to academic writing out. They can give you some advice. I don't know if they can actually look at your work or not, but they can give you broad advice and talk about their own experiences of academic writing. And that's how I actually got involved in all things skills, is through that scheme. Because I was giving students advice about, here's what I did. Here's the referencing mistake I made, don't make it. Here is here is how you can time manage to go through the assignment season when you've just got 10 assignments in for 2 weeks and you're like, what do I do? Well, you can speak to students who have been in your shoes, potentially even doing the same assessments, and ask them, what did they do? And they can say, well, I did this and this, but I wish I'd done this. And you can go, oh, maybe I should do that. And that's what I think it's really good for, because they can give that lived experience that's recent, and give honest advice that maybe staff members can't give at times.
Yeah. And they generally, they will not, or they should not proofread or anything like that.
No,
it's
they
about
shouldn't.
sharing those experiences. That's really important. It's another form of support that you've got available. Yeah. So we are going to talk a bit about academic language, and I'm going to read what you wrote, but I didn't read this before the session, did I?
That's okay. No, you didn't, because it wasn't. It was written whilst you were talking earlier.
Good.
Because if anyone saw my group presentations advice, I'm definitely following it. So, academic language. So, academic language is something that you may want to use, and probably advisable to use some academic language within your work. Tim, you've gone black on the webcam.
I know. My phone decided not to send a signal for 2 seconds.
You're back.
I'm back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So yes, academic language, something you probably do want to use within your work. Academic language is essentially language which academics use, and often they have similar words that you can use that aren't academic. If you're wondering where you can get academic writing examples from, I think the first thing I'd do is ask Tim if Tim would be willing to showcase a journey from the library homepage to the essay skills guide page. Sorry, the academic writing skills guide and the essays page within that.
I love how this is getting more complicated. I might have to sub you back out.
No.
Let someone else in. Hey?
So
let me just share the screen, Alex, 1 second. Oh, wait. You wanted to start at
the library homepage. So my main piece of advice for academic language is all about, do use it, but make sure you understand what you're using and you aren't waffling or wasting words because of it. Do make sure you use it where it's relevant, and do make sure that the audience who are reading your assignment will understand it. And I'll show you some examples from now of where you can get them. Well, hopefully Tim will. So Tim, take it away.
So I just entered the library website, www.ac.uk/library, and then I clicked on subject guides, and that brings us here, or subject support, I believe it's called. And there you can see, and I will highlight our library chat. You can chat to our lovely assistants here if you want to, but you can also see the link to the skills guides. You click on the skills guides, and then you click on academic writing skills guide. And then you wanted essay, Alex?
I wanted essays, yeah.
So in the
not
top
essay structure,
menu.
but essays, yeah. In the top menu.
Yes, good highlight. I didn't even realize we had to.
I didn't even know. The thing is, Tim, I couldn't even see that you'd done that. I just thought I did it earlier, so I thought, oh, you might have done that.
So essay, and it is clicked. I just want to sorry interrupt you. Sorry for interrupting you, Alex. I spoke to a colleague at another university this weekend. Actually, we graduated together from Sheffield, and he had a look at our library guides, and he loved the way that we had laid them out. So we must have done something right. Anyway, Alex, essays, we are there.
So in the resources section of the essays page, there is a number of examples that you can use for academic language terms. And they give you examples that you can use within your own work. Often they're sentence starters and things that you can use to help convey language. And they are really good, and I would recommend using them. However, what's really important is when you do use them is to make sure that you understand what they mean and what they actually are. So I'd recommend looking them up, because there's nothing worse than using academic language where it doesn't fit. I've often seen lots of memes on Facebook which says sparkling my essay with academic language with words like thus and whatnot, and often you read the sentence and it doesn't work. They've just used it because they've gone, look, I sound clever. But you've got to remember that those words won't necessarily get you the marks, but they'll help make your work flow and help convey your point. But they only help convey what you've already got. So you've got to still have research, and you can't just use them to fill gaps that aren't covered. Tim, I don't think you're going to be able to showcase the level 6 and level 7 page, are you? No. But in your spare time, you can have a look at those. I would always recommend having a look at the highest level ones, even if you're studying currently at level 5. I'd recommend having a look at the 6 and 7 ones because you can get ahead of the game that way. And
Can I need to talk about this now for just a minute, Alex. I don't know
Tim.
if you know what is coming.
I know what's coming.
Levels.
Yeah.
I understand why we try and make things progressively more complicated by having a level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever else you want to do. The worst thing you can do, I think, as a first year student is go, oh, I only need to write at level 4, and I'm going to ignore critical analysis and being critical and introducing more sources and all that until year 2. There's nothing wrong with you doing that earlier and actually getting used to writing at a better level early on. So if you imagine academic writing as a journey, I mentioned before, it takes many years to create your own academic voice and to establish it. But don't worry too much about the levels. They're just there to make sure that the academic content is leveled at the right stage, if you like. But for your academic writing, just start writing as well as you can, as soon as you can, because it'll help you develop your own academic voice a lot quicker. So don't fall for the trap of going, oh, this is only level 4 assignment. I'm only going to write this and this because I don't need to be difficult. No, get it right as soon as you can. It's much, much better. Sorry, Alex.
The same exact advice applies for criteria for different grades. So often there's criteria for 2-1s, criteria for first. I wouldn't have achieved as well as I did if I had gone for for what I wanted. So at university, I was told that to become a solicitor, which is what I wanted to when I started university, you had to have at least a 2-1 degree. I didn't think I was that clever, so I decided I wanted 2-1. However, I decided that I'd aim for the criteria for first within my second year, and I didn't always get them, in all honesty. But the thing is when you do get them, you actually will end up getting it first. If you don't get them, then you've got what you aim for anyways. So do aim for them. Don't be afraid to aim for the stars, because
absolutely,
if you aim for the stars and you miss, you might still get to the moon, which is a lower platform, but it's better than what you might have got otherwise. So don't worry about, because even if you do make mistakes, if you do wider research, that can make up for a mistake elsewhere in one of the other content pieces and can actually balance you to what you deserve.
Yeah.
And can so if I hadn't followed that approach, I wouldn't have got a first.
We need a football analogy here, Alex. We need to talk about Marcus Rashford. He's great. I love Marcus Rashford. What he's doing in the social sphere, how he's picking up things. But if Marcus Rashford hadn't aimed to become the best striker in the country, he'd be playing for Sheffield Wednesday now, not for Manchester United. So, I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan. I loved Marcus Rashford, but let's be honest, if you aim for as well as you can be, you probably do a bit better in a lot of things.
And truth be told, as well, I didn't think I was worthy of getting a first either. But you don't know, and especially with imposter syndrome, you don't actually know how good you are until you try to be the best that you can. So do try and try to do your best and aim for the stars and see where it takes you.
Yeah, and confidence in your own writing. If you don't write, you don't build confidence. So it's a sort of chicken and egg thing. The more you write, the more confident you become. The more you read, the more confident you become in your writing. So absolutely, just start. Just get on with it. Like Alex said earlier on, don't worry about your first draft. Just write it, get it on paper. You can always fix it afterwards anyway. Shall we talk about how effort does furthermore?
Yes. So there are words that you can use to help create flow within your assignment. There are words like however, therefore, furthermore. And those words are really useful. I use them all the time. I probably use the word however to show that one point contradicts another point, or the line above is contradicted by this line here. I use it far too much. I actually have to look for synonyms of it, because I think I use it about 20-30 times an essay, in a short essay, that is. So use synonyms for those, but make sure you know what they mean and use them correctly, because if you use them incorrectly, that will confuse everything. So do look at what they mean. So Tim, what did you want to say about those?
So I marked a lot. I'm also just dropping in. I would like people to ask questions in the chat, because we're going to get to ask questions. We've got quite a lot of viewers at the moment, 16, so I'm very happy. So any questions you've got, drop them in. What I wanted to say though is that as someone who's marked quite a lot of work in the past, I'm so pleased I don't have to anymore. There is nothing more annoying for a marker than read a piece of work that's clearly been cobbled together with lots of difficult surplus words, I would call it. And unfortunately, some students, when they don't hit the word count, they start adding in the howevers, thusers, furthermores, and other coupling words that don't actually make sense where they're using them. And it makes, if the reading of the document is difficult, as a marker, you're inclined to mark lower because you're not actually getting the point that the student is trying to make. And that sounds harsh, but imagine that when you're marking 50 essays in one weekend, which, sort of the norm for quite a lot of academics, you will be triggered by seeing a lot of bad language. So only use these words where they are appropriate, where they should be used. And actually, for me personally, I've enjoyed the challenge of not using them at all and getting rid of them in my writing and use a different writing style, using the active voice a lot more that Naomi talked about earlier. But yeah, be aware of it. Don't overuse them. Try and remove them where you don't need.
And I would only really use them where they actually assist to answer the question. So if they assist you in showing critical analysis or hitting one of the criteria, then do use them. If they don't, then they're just surplus, and
Yes.
they're a waste of words. And speaking of making sure that you answer the question, the next area that I was going to talk about was ensuring relevance. I'm just going to briefly talk
I'm
about a
just
few different ways.
But I wanted to highlight, we talked about
Oh,
this a
Tim.
couple of weeks ago. Sorry, Alex.
The
You've used
segue.
segue. You've used it and you spelled it the way that I told you it had to be spelled.
I
That's good.
did.
You've learned. You have learned. Excellent.
I have learned.
How do you spell
From
segue, Alex?
Segue, and not Segway like the bike with wheels that
That's it.
you use when you're on holiday. I've still
That's
not
it.
used one though. Anyways, so thinking about that comment isn't relevant. So if this was an essay, that needs to be scrapped. It's not helping towards the end product. But I'm going to talk now about some ways that shouldn't be scrapped that actually they're used to help ensure relevance. So there's a few things that I'm going to talk about very, very quickly. I'm just going to skim through some key points. First of all, within your writing, try to use and utilize the key words that are in the question. So repeat the words that are within the question in your answer. And that will help to show this. Look, this part here, it links back to the question. Additionally, if you read an end of a paragraph and you think, I think this is relevant, make short times to say why it's relevant. I had a look at someone's work I think about a year ago, and they used this really good theory, and they'd done a paragraph and they were just talking and they just dropped a theory in the middle of it, and I was like, this is a really good theory, but why have you used it? And he was like, no, of course it's used for this, this, and this. I was like, well, you've not said that in your writing. And he just dropped in a theory without actually explaining why he'd use it and why it was relevant. So always make sure you don't just rely on a source, explain how that source answers the question and why you've actually used it, because sources on their own don't always do help answer the question. Additionally, constantly look back at the question, because sometimes in your head you will have a question, and as you research, that question might shift and change. So at intervals in your assessment, do look back at the question that you've been given, just to make sure you are on the right tracks and to check, because it can be so easy to go down one rabbit hole and that rabbit hole is completely irrelevant. And that's happened to me in the past.
The
So always
biggest,
do check
the,
back. Yes, Tim.
yeah, the biggest reason people fail their essays in particular is because they failed to answer the question that was asked. And it is so frustrating when you're marking work that, it could be brilliant work, but it's literally gone down that rabbit hole, as Alex says. It's not answered the question. And if you're not answering the question, I can't give you points. So
Yep.
please make sure always check the question and answering the question. Yeah.
So a final way that you can help to check that you're on the right track with a question is to ask a friend with no subject knowledge of the area, or a parent or someone like that who doesn't study your course, if they can just have a look at your work and see if they can understand how bits are relevant to the question. And if they can't, then is that because they don't have the subject knowledge, or is that because your work isn't relevant? And to question that and see if how you can make it more relevant and clear how your work answers the question, because the marker probably knows how it does, but your paper needs to say how it does, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's again coming back to that academic language needs to be clear. You know,
Yeah.
if you are explaining something, you need to explain it properly and you need to get it right. The biggest problem with journal articles, if you ever read journal articles, is that they come across as very dense. There's lots of information sort of squashed in. Um, and it feels very artificial and difficult to read. The problem with a journal article is you have to be really precise, defining what you are talking about, which specific area that is, what your findings were. So with a journal article, the language automatically becomes quite restrictive in a way, because you have to explain the point that you are trying to make in that article. And it's very likely you're not the only one who writes on that topic. There's probably another 50 people writing on the same topic. They might have even used the same methods and all that stuff. So you have to be really clear about what it is that you are talking about. So I'm not using clear in the sense of, gosh, I'm trying to think like a clear window that you can see straight through it. I'm using clear as in it's very clear what your contribution is to the field that you are writing about.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good advice, Tim. I think that's probably the end of the advice that I would like to give for this live stream. I think this would be a really good opportunity to talk about some of the upcoming workshops where people can further the knowledge of skills that they have, and also where students can access the recordings back at a later date if they would like to, because they can't attend things.
Yes. So I'm going back to my browser. Yeah, whilst we go to the unexpected Naomi, like and subscribe. If you like this content, we do this every
Every week.
Wednesday. Every week we're doing this. And we like it. We think it's a really good format for people to engage with us and to find out what we are doing. So I'm just back on the essay skills guide, the academic writing skills guide. I'm going back to LibGuides, so this is how you get to all the LibGuides, subject information, and I click on Skills Guides, and then when you scroll down, you will see StudyFest 2020. You can also just type in libguides.derby.ac.uk/StudyFest, and that takes you to this lovely page. First thing I want to highlight, massive shout out to the lovely Barbara who designed these logos for us. I think they're absolutely brilliant. And it's a library day, Wednesday library day, so we've got this lovely logo here with the book. I'm not going to use that one because I don't think we've uploaded anything yet. I'll use yesterday's sessions, Tuesday, and you will see that the team was staying active and well-being. And here you can find a link to, for example, the recording of the session on time management, which the lovely Naomi that we've substituted earlier has delivered. I think you helped out with this one as well.
I did help out. I was the voice of the chat.
You were the voice of the chat, just like Naomi is the voice of the chat now. So there's that one. The Pell schemes weren't recorded for confidentiality reasons, but we also have a recording here of the chaplaincy and well-being get to know us. And I looked back at this morning. I loved it. I think it is brilliant. But you know, have a look, see what you think. I just think anything that Amy does is great. So always happy to promote that. And then if you go to the Monday, I viewed a few of these as well. We did our own introduction. I would skip that because it just says what's going on this week. But you can also find and use ebooks and journal articles with Library Plus, which I think was delivered by Hazel, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had a lovely session from our IT colleagues on Microsoft 365 and a lovely session by our TEL colleagues, our Technology Enhanced Learning team, on tools that you can use for learning. Great details, some really, really valid, excellent content in there. So go and have a look at that. Have we decided, Alex, how long these are going to be live? How long are we going to keep these?
We've not decided that yet, no, but they will be in there for at least the next 28 days, if not longer.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, though, Tim, if there's any further sessions later on in the week that you might want to highlight for people. I think the digital literacy ones might be really useful and to help with academic writing. And the Skillshare one that I'm doing, I want to plug as well because...
Yes. So today we've got further, the building and arguments is coming up this afternoon, academic voice. This morning we had evaluating your sources and planning a search strategy. And the links are already there, so you can look at those if you want to, or at least the first one. Then we've got the fundamental skills. So digital literacy. Tell colleagues again, they are talking about how to use Adobe Spark. Really interesting, really great topic. Go and have a look at that. We're doing another referencing session. We had one yesterday. Alex, how many people did attend that one?
43 from memory.
43. And tomorrow
No, that was today's PAL session. It was more than that.
Yeah, I thought it was more.
I think there was 60 something. I can't remember.
Right. So
I think it was 60.
Always popular, this referencing. I don't know why. And then digital literacy, basics of design to support effective communication. Another one from Tel about communication, which is really important for everybody. Then we've got the Maths Hub coming online with us as well. I referred to it last week. They run a session at the same time as we do on a Wednesday at 12:30, and they are doing a session for us at StudyFest. And then we have a presentation session with Alex.
It's a great one.
What do you mean a great one?
It's going to be a great session. I'm really looking forward to it.
You're sounding like Donald Trump now.
It's going to be the best session, Tim, out of the history of sessions.
Best ever, yes. The best session on presentations ever. And then we've got Friday, our lovely careers colleagues have got lots of sessions on, but we also have the Skillshare session. Alex,
yeah,
take it away.
Cool, thank you. So the Skillshare session that I am doing on Friday, I'm really looking forward to, because it's the first time we've ever done this one before. Effectively, what it is everyone goes to the room, and I'm going to be asking a series of questions to the audience, and everyone will give will be invited to give one tip for that particular area. I will give a tip, and then I will read out some of the audience tips, and hopefully we can all come from the room, all knowing a little bit more about each of the key questions. We've currently got 3 people signed up, I think, but it would be really cool if we had more. It works with 3, it works with 5, it works with 100, but I don't think we're going to have 100. But it'll be really interesting to see what everyone comes to the session with, and I'm looking forward to what advice I receive that I can then use to implement my own studying, and hopefully everyone else will come away with new ideas on a variety of topics, not just one topic, but almost all the topics that we cover as the skills team. I think there's 15 questions in total to ask, so that'll be fun.
Should be really good fun. We're nearly closing. We're at the end of the stream. I just want to highlight that we will make these streams about the topics that you want us to talk about. So this is a great opportunity for you as students at the University of Derby, or even just if you're loosely affiliated with us, whatever it is, let us know what you want us to talk about in these sessions. We will make it all about you, and we love just highlighting all our wonderful resources that we've got. This stream is made possible by our sponsors today, StudyFest, which is, they're not real sponsors, but it is a great week. So I just want to say, I hope you have enjoyed today's stream. It's goodbye from me, it's goodbye from Alex, it's goodbye from Naomi. Woo! Alex, anything you wanted to say?
It's nice to be subbed on.
Yes, it is nice to be subbed on. Right, okay.
Can I have a starting role in the future, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, I think you're starting next week, Alex.
Cool.
After Naomi's dreadful performance on active and passive voice, we've got to make harsh decisions. Oh, she's leaving the screen now. Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you all later.